Welcome back, guys, to the one and only Have You Heard podcast, the podcast, everything social. I'm joined today by our brand new promoted paid social director, Amber.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good. Very happy to be in the new lovely podcast room. My first time in the new room.
Lovely
Exciting.
stuff. Now, we've done podcasts before.
Yep.
Not all of them have gone to plan, so
Nope.
hopefully today's going to go a bit better.
Yeah, we'll try again.
But today we are talking about the interesting topic of testing in paid media. I think it takes up quite a large proportion of kind of our day-to-day tasks in terms of, setting up tests and understanding what's working the best for us to be able to drive and take performance forward, really. So do you want to kick off today with why do we test?
Definitely. So I think the reason we test and the benefit it has to us as a paid media team is by really understanding what's working for our clients. So comparing and contrasting against kind of our creative, our audiences, our campaign structure. By putting these through kind of rigorous testing, we can really understand what's working, why it's working, feedback to the client, and kind of really action that feedback and kind of make sure that we're working to the best of our ability and everything is optimized as it should be.
I think naturally with the development of paid media and the way that it's gone, quite a lot of what we do with our ad structures and builds anyway, there's testing built into it.
Yeah.
The AI does testing itself.
Definitely.
When we build ads into our ad structure, typically our best practice is to have between 3 and 5 ads per ad set. So there's already some natural level of testing going there.
Yeah.
And like we have on the Google Ads side of things as well, we're testing keywords, we're testing copy, and that's all kind of built into our kind of structure with the way that, both Google and Meta have, and to be fair, all of the ad platforms have built into their kind of ad structures and the way that it's managed. Like testing is kind of built into the forefront of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of like I guess what happens on a day-to-day basis with like normal optimizations. But I think we want to delve a little bit deeper into it today because each media platform has kind of got their own way of kind of making more defined tests that you're able to kind of set up and complete to try and get results. Most people have probably heard of it as A/B testing, but you can take it much, much further than that as well. So in terms of A/B testing, what are like the golden rules when you're setting up an A/B test across paid social, for example?
Yeah, definitely. So as you've mentioned, a lot of the AI within platforms are already testing, and we allow the platform to spend most effectively by picking out the best performers. So an A/B test is effectively putting controls on that. So you're not getting your audience overlap. You're making sure that each person in the audience pool will only see one variation of your test. So we can currently run this within Meta and within TikTok at the minute. Kind of it's in the roadmap for Pinterest as A/B testing, but not yet released for everybody. But in terms of the basics of an A/B test, you need to make sure that you're testing one key variable. There's no point having kind of various kind of tests going on within one because you're not going to be able to define what caused the results. So one key variable. Make sure that you've got enough budget behind the test. A common mistake can be kind of letting it run with a very small budget. So you're not going to get enough data through it. It's going to be learning limited and you're not going to get the results you need. Also give it enough runtime. You need to be a little bit patient with tests. Sometimes things can change over a longer period. So make sure that you've got enough time to run these tests. A clear hypothesis as well. So make sure you've always got a clear hypothesis, what you think's going to happen. And make sure that your test is always kind of actioning a business goal. You want to make sure that you're testing it for a reason. It's got a purpose, and it's something that the client wants to find out more about. Testing for the sake of testing is something that we all kind of fall into the trap of. Obviously, it's a key subject. We want to make sure that we're always testing, but it can be quite time consuming. And if you're not getting actionable results from them, they can be a little bit of a time suck.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many different elements we can test as well, talking about creative, talking about copy, talking about landing pages.
Yeah.
And I think, particularly across the paid social landscape, that's, quite clear and defined, but we can also mirror that. And there's tools available to be able to do that within Google Ads as well. Naturally, we're already testing copy because of the way responsive search ads are built in, but again, testing different campaign objectives, whether target CPA is going to work better, whether target ROAS is going to work better, what landing pages, are performing the best from that side of things. But we also, I think, once we've kind of defined all of those metrics and we've got the setup, it really is understanding what our key goal is going to be at the end of that. Because, if we're testing, creative, we probably want to be looking at click-through rate. If we're testing landing pages, we probably want to be looking at conversion rate. So it's making sure that we've got that completely outlined before the test is started. So
definitely,
we know the direction that we want to go with those results and can take a clear action at the end of it.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess that's kind of covered off why we test and the kind of golden rules of setting them up. We've kind of covered off A/B testing, but do you want to run through, I guess, the kind of other testing options that we've got available to us? I know we've got much closer relationship with the media owners these days, particularly over at Meta and Google, that do provide further and deeper testing analysis. What other tests do we have available to us?
Yeah, so within Meta, just as an example, we have the chance to kind of work directly with our partners over at Meta, and they can basically carry out more in-depth brand lift studies. So a brand lift study basically involves a holdout audience group. So you are restricting an audience group that is not served the test variant. So it's a way to really understand the impact that your campaign has had on an audience by not showing a percentage of your audience that test. And it is in the format of a short questionnaire. So people that are served the campaign and not served the campaign are served a poll. So they're asked a variety of questions that we can have some control over. And it's basically to get an understanding of what impact that campaign has had on the users. So it's kind of brand recognition. What was the campaign about? Do they understand what the client does, what they offer, what services they offer? And it's a really great way of understanding what the brand campaign impact has really been. I think one of the hardest things for us as a paid media team is when a client comes to us and they want to raise brand awareness. So the metrics that we have within platform to measure that are reasonably limited. So that's when kind of brand uplift studies come into play and have a real kind of positive impact. Things to be aware of, you need to have the budget to do these. So every media platform has its own minimum spends across the board, and you'll need to check with your account rep because they do depend on the market. So yeah, definitely reach out to your account rep and kind of get the standard for that. Other kind of tests that we can do with media platforms are conversion uplift as well. So conversion uplift studies, and these are more so for conversion campaigns rather than kind of your brand awareness campaigns. They work in the same way. So you will get a control group that is withheld from the overall campaign. And basically what the study is doing is measuring the incremental uplift of conversion. So people that were made aware of the campaign, that were served the ads, compared to the people that were not. And they use a mixture of in-platform and external tracking that will kind of measure how much of an impact it has on conversions. And they differ from platform to platform. And some of them have kind of outside partners with partners like Kantar, which can help give more in-depth analysis. And you can have quite a hefty report from this as well, which is really important for some clients, but not appropriate for all. And obviously do come with additional costs. So it's just something to be aware of for that.
For sure, yeah. So the conversion lift study is actually an interesting one because it used to be part of the kind of experiments tab within Meta prior to the iOS 14 changes. But obviously with the loss of data that we had from, people opting out of the tracking that was available, Meta lost the opportunity to be able to do that. So it's really good that they've introduced that back into the equation again. So do recommend for any clients that want to test,
definitely.
Pushing that additional spend through and getting that additional insight into specifically, and I think, when we look at it from a Meta and paid social perspective, that 7-day, 1-day click attribution window that we look at to report on from in platform is grey at the best of times, because it is such a long window. It really does help us kind of hone in on specifically how much uplift that we're getting. So if you've got a client that's really interested in see the direct impacts that paid social is having, it's a really, really good tool to be able to use. I just want to wind back a little bit, because I know we were talking about brand uplift and brand awareness, and talking about the metrics on that side of things. I think it's great that we have, availability and access to test here, because measuring brand awareness is a pain in the arse, realistically. We have tools available to us from what we can do at a top line level within the agency. We're looking at Google Analytics. We're looking at, any search trends. Are there any uplift in any particular search terms using Google Search Console? We're looking at organic traffic, search traffic, and direct traffic as well, to see if there's been any impact on brand awareness from that perspective. But it is very difficult to measure. And I'm sure the listeners all at home probably would have seen one of the polls that you've seen as well, because they don't just appear on paid social. It's a similar story on YouTube as well. You can run similar sorts of brand uplift studies on that side of things, where again you get served a poll as part of your ad before you watch your piece of video content to decide whether you've recognized the brand or not. I guess.
I would say they're even more popular on YouTube. They're quite common, aren't they, as a thing you'll kind of often see when about to watch your video.
Nice. Sounds good. Well, thank you for joining me today. I hope all of the listeners at home enjoyed listening to all of our content today. Make sure you all get out and start testing. We really do recommend doing it, because it is the best way to try and drive and scale account growth. Hopefully our tips today have helped enable you guys to do that. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys like, follow and subscribe, and we'll speak to you soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.